sitting down with someone who brought one of the most memorable and, let's be honest, goofiest villains in Power Rangers to history to life. You know him as the man behind the suit, Baboo, that was quirky, sniveling henchman of Rita Repulsa's, whose mix of cowardice and comic relief made him unforgettable. But beyond his goofy antics and monster mayhem, Steve is a talented performer who added a whole layer of personality to one of the franchise's original villains. And let me tell you, he's also done a lot more, and I can't wait to get to this part. Whether you loved him, or you hated him, or just laughed at his schemes always falling apart, Baboo was part of what made Mighty Morphin Power Rangers iconic. All right, my first question for you, Steve. Baboo was one of the weirdest, funniest characters in Power Rangers universe. How did you originally get to bring this character to life?
Okay, so I was on set as an extra, one of the kids in the classroom hallway. Actually, I was on my first day on set. They approached me with this. I was there as a punk in detention with Bulk and Skull. So I only got to film one scene, and I was sitting around the rest of the day. And they finally walked up to me and said, "Wait a minute, how tall are you? What's your shoe set? Come here, come try this costume on." So I tried the costume on. It fit. I could move in it pretty well. They were happy with the way it looked on me. Asked me if I was okay with getting makeup done. And I said, yeah, I've done stage work before. I said, great. We'll call you Monday and let you know where to be Tuesday morning. I get to set. I spend an hour and 15 minutes or so getting the makeup done. They throw the costume on me, push me out there, says, okay, here's the scene. You and Squad are digging up the dark power coins. And the script says just, the monsters dig up the power coins and then celebrate. I had never seen the show before, so I'm thinking I'm a monster and I'm doing, it's vampire-like.
Sure, yeah.
I'm doing the evil, and they're all like, "Cut! You haven't watched the show yet, have you, Steve?" And I said, "No, sorry, I haven't had a chance." They're like, "Not that kind of monster." So they said, "Goofy, flunky." I said, "Okay, I got that." And my mind immediately went to the flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
So
oh my God.
That's why I kind of hunched a little bit, because I knew this is a more submissive type character. So that's the way I played it. The woman that played Squat worked well with me, and they just basically said, okay, looks great, cut. Now that scene we filmed actually never aired.
Right.
But from that point on, the two of us were just Squat and Baboo. We had good chemistry together. Back in the early days, there wasn't really a formula to doing things, so they let us go. They let us try things. We were just, hey, what if we do this way? So we filmed a little bit more maybe than they would nowadays, but that's because we were just trying to figure out what was going to look best and sound best.
Sure, yeah.
So they gave us a lot of freedom to do what we wanted. And looking back at it, we were Bulk and Skull, but in monster form. We were the goofy ones. We were going to get the weird stuff happen to them, drinking the potion or eating the eggs that we shouldn't have, stuff like that, or trying to grab the lantern and taking all of them because we didn't know what to do. But I will say we did accomplish all of our tasks.
Yes, you did. It's funny that you mentioned Squad was a female behind the suit.
Yes.
And not a lot of people actually know that.
Correct.
And you broke the news to me when we were sitting there, because he was smart enough to have a camera backstage taking photos, which was a lot of people didn't do.
Because 30 plus years ago.
Yeah. And so when I saw down at the photo and you were like, oh yeah, that's the woman who played, I was like, what? Yeah. Which is incredible. I had no idea, which is really cool.
Unless you've seen me at a convention or you go on IMDb, 99% of the people I say that to have no idea.
Yeah.
And bringing the camera, by the time I got to do it, like I said, it was the beginning of season 2.
Yeah.
We knew how popular the show was.
Yeah.
I wanted something to be able to show my grandkids, thinking, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Which is today. That no one's going to remember the show, but I can say I've got this.
Sure. And look at it.
Still going strong.
Still going strong. That's
all because of you fans.
Yes. Now, the character had his blend of classic cartoon villainy and in some weird Shakespearean dream drama type of way. Like, you kind of had a way of like bringing him to life in, he was part monster, but just always like meticulous, like the way he would stand and
yes.
speak, right?
Yeah. The thing is, it was originally a vampiric character.
Yes.
I mean, so I've got the bat on my one wrist. I've got the extra fangs, the sharp lines. It just, and that's initially how Dave Mallow, who was the voice actor, voiced him. And they're like, nah, maybe that's not what we want. Do it more, more submissive, more goofy. And he just came up with this little voice. Well, and a really short voice, and it just worked. Now, the funny thing was, I never, unfortunately, got to meet Dave Mallow, but everybody always asks, well, did you have to deliver your lines the way he did? I'm like, it was the other way around.
Right.
You could see my face because the mask was open, mask like this. So I had to deliver lines as written in the script, and he had to match his tone and tempo to the way I did it. Never had a complaint, never had a, hey, you don't need to do it like, never heard anything.
Interesting.
And he just always matched up to it. And
this is like gold, by the way, because it's so cool to honestly like hear this, because we were speaking for a while, but this is like great. Now, Power Rangers had a massive cultural impact, like you just mentioned, back in the 90s. This is why you brought your camera on season 2.
Yep.
But you were part of it before it exploded globally. At what point did you realize, holy crap, this is going to blow up?
I mean, it would have blown up enough in the U.S. to the point where from the time I got cast, it took me almost 6 months to find the Baboo action figure.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it anywhere. And I stumbled into a mom and pop toy store in Santa Monica, and I'm just like, I've been looking forever. I'm just curious, and they had one, and I just grabbed it. But when I really realized how big it was, I actually appeared at the Fox Network Board of Directors meeting at the Beverly Hills Hotel when they were talking about how well the show was doing. Back in the day, a slideshow was real slides, and they had the idea to have a monster bring in the slides. It wasn't Baboo. I believe it was Fighting Flea. I'm not 100% on that. They just had me come in. Hey, let's start the slideshow. I walked in as a monster with 2 fake slide trays. The presenter ducked behind the curtain, came back out as Red Ranger to scare me off. I threw the slide trays up and ran out. 5 minutes in costume, full day's pay, lunch at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. I'll do that every day. But when I was done, I'm like, I'm going to hang out. I'm going to hang in the back and listen, just because I was curious.
Sure, yeah.
They announced the movie, that they had the plans for the movie, which I was excited about, because now I'm going to be in a movie. And then they announced it was going to be in Australia, and I'm even more excited because I've always wanted to go to Australia. And then they announced that they were bringing on some new monsters, and I'm like, okay, well.
There goes that.
There goes that.
Yeah.
The other thing they happened to mention, though, from August of 93, when the show debuted, through the end of December 1994, that merchandising department grossed $1 billion.
With a B. And this is in the 90s.
32 years ago. It was really, since it started the end of August, it was 16 months to do that much. That's when I was like, oh, yeah, this ain't going away for a while. I don't think we thought 32 years later it was still going to be going, but...
I mean, you mentioned this in the past. That's, when you think about that type of money, ball players now make that money in a season.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about in the 90s, unheard of. This show was pulling and pushing its way through every single part of television history.
And it wasn't just, it was obviously the toys. It was lunch boxes, but sheets and curtains for bedrooms,
sheets and curtains.
Breakfast cereal. It was one of the, and it's just like anything. You could slap a Power Ranger logo on anything, and it was going to sell. It was going to sell.
That's
absolutely
crazy. Now, I got the chance to be able to sit there and look through a very old TV guide, and you played other monsters.
Okay, so for the TV guide shoot, that was to announce the second season and announce Lord Zed as the head villain. They wanted pictures of the current villains, Squat and Baboo, and Goldar. But then they wanted to debut some of the new, what we used to call Monsters of the Week.
Yeah.
The ones that would be in just the one episode. So they're like, well, we're already going to have these guys down there. We're just going to have them do the other monsters too. So for the TV guide shoot, I got to be Octo Phantom, Invincible Flytrap, and Robo Goat. And then Melanie, who played Squat, got to be Salaguana, Parantis Head, and Primator.
Nice.
So, and like I said, doing the other functions. Like I said,
for
for the slides, I was a different one. I played Octo Phantom one other time. Fox Network was had a party for the Television Critics Association to promote their new TV show that was coming out in 94 or 5, I forget which one, called Models Inc., starring Linda Gray, who's the head of a modeling agency. So they had the great idea to rent out a mansion in LA, have the party in the backyard, and they were going to do a runway show of the cast because they were playing models. And they're thinking, well, what else are we going to do? We'll have a couple of Rangers and a couple of monsters. So they threw a couple of stunt people in Ranger costumes. I got to play Octo Phantom. I forgot who Melanie was. And we got to just mingle with everybody. And from what I remember, the TV critics were more excited to get pictures with us than watching, with this runway show and what the new show was going to be.
Plus, they get to brag that they were hanging out with Power Rangers. I mean, even of the villains.
Well, as a matter of fact, when Melanie and I were going up to our room at the end of the night, we're getting ready to get out of costume to go home. Linda Gray comes out of another room up there, and she's all like, wait, I need to get a picture with you guys. So I'm like, this is, star of 80s, one of the top TV shows of the 80s in Dallas. Wants a picture with a couple of people in rubber suits. Yeah, it was big.
Let's do a fun one in a modern reboot of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If Baboo came back, what would he be doing? Would he be a tech startup, an influencer, Rita's podcast co-host? We're talking about bringing it to modern time.
I would say, Squat and Baboo would be in charge of the social media and, trying to film everything. Rita's propaganda people.
That would be so
and just, cameras falling over, running stuff back. It would run backwards, stuff like that. That's exactly what would
Post
happen.
to the wrong accounts.
Yeah.
That would be so great. Tell me a little bit before we wrap up. What's been going on in your life? What's new? Are you completely retired? Like, what's going on in your life? Because I think it's important for people to know you were part of our childhood.
An actor is never completely retired, no matter what they say.
Yeah.
What a lot of people asked me was, well, why didn't you keep going with it? Why didn't you play Baboo when they transitioned to Zeo or do other monsters?
Yeah, right.
Which I wanted to. However, in the days before cell phones, we had what were called pagers. And not realizing it at the time, pagers only work within certain area codes that they're attached to. I lived in LA in Orange County, so it worked for the whole LA area. That was great. 1 month, almost to the day after we wrapped season 2, I eloped and moved to Vegas with my wife. Well, became my wife while we eloped. And we ended up living out there. But I'm thinking, well, I've got the pager. They'll call me. I'll drive back the night before, stay at a friend or relative's house. Never got the call. Didn't surprise me because, well, look, it's the end of Mighty Morphin. I knew they were doing a transition and then they were going into a new show. So I'm like, they're done with me. Didn't worry about it. And the reason my wife and I moved really was because we were both trying to make it in the acting industry. Couldn't get anything else, and we just both decided maybe the reason we were both actors is so we would meet.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the real destiny behind it. Fast forward 19 years, the first con I ever did was in Houston, where I was living, and a bunch of Rangers were going to be there. A friend of mine was running the con, so he invited me to come by. And Paulie Schreier comes up to me, during the con and says, "Man, whatever happened to you?" So I told him the story. And he's like, I remember Saban going, "What happened to my blue guy? He disappeared. I don't know where he is." Because I said they used to rely on me to do all these other promo things too that most of the Rangers never even knew about.
Yeah.
I was Mr. Reliable for them, and I literally fell off the face of the earth.
That's crazy to think that in that time you could do that.
Yeah.
You can do that.
You could disappear. Intentionally or not.
Yeah, and no one had no way of getting to you.
No way.
And you were just a state away.
Yeah, I was a 4-hour drive from LA to Vegas. and I've made it many times, so it wouldn't have been a problem to do it once.
Wow.
But as far as never being retired, I'm doing a little bit of voiceover work. I just started the very end of one episode. It's a Cayman Rider podcast.
Yes.
They're doing, they've introduced me on their 6th episode. At the very end is the character Space Sheriff Galvin. So I'm doing a little voiceover
Congrats
with
on
that. Thank you. I have also, it's been a few years, written a horror movie script that I'm working on trying to get in the hands of the right people.
Seems to be like a trend with a lot of the Power Rangers that, past actors. They love horror, by the way.
Horror's the best. Again, you have the freedom to do so many things with horror.
Steve, this has been a complete honor for me. I told you when I first saw you backstage, I'm like, wait a second. I'm looking down at stuff, looking at you, looking down. I'm like, are you? And you're like, I'm that guy.
Yep.
I'm the blue guy.
Yeah.
You know?
And so like people like, doesn't anybody recognize you? I said, okay, I've had contacts.
Yes, right.
No facial hair and a blue face. When I ran into Steve Cardenas at that show and I said hi walking by, he just gave me like a hi, like I'm just another fan. And then when I started setting up at my table, he's like, oh my God, okay, now I know who you are.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad. Please continue to do stuff like this. Write a book, do a podcast, do something. Because I think the stories that you and Melanie, you said?
Yeah, Melanie.
Even you and Melanie could even tell.
Oh, yeah.
From the times past. The fans are here. We're here for you. Steve, thank you so much, man.
Thank
You got anything else you want to put in?
One last thing. I did start a YouTube channel a while ago.
Let's go.
Called Baboo's Monster Review, where I was reviewing the episodes of Power Ranger.
So smart.
From the monster's point of view.
That is so smart. Monsters need love too.
So I want to say about 40 episodes through, had some things happen and just dropped it. But I think I've kind of been re-inspired and re-energized to pick that up.
Yes, please.
Especially because I want to get to the shows that I was in.
Yes.
And see how it goes from there.
That's great.
Job thing has got to the point where I should be able to get back into it. I'm going to try my hardest. But Baboo's Monster Review. And of course, you can follow me on social media. Facebook is just Steve Andino. And when you see a little Baboo logo, that's me.
That's him.
And everything else, whether it's Insta, X, Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky, it's all Baboo at Baboo Real.
Steve Andino, don't forget the name. By the way, the blue face, maybe one day we could put you in costume. I don't know,
I have thought about getting like a Baboo helmet made with having the big ears and the monocle so that the Rangers all have their helmets. I want something like that.
That's so awesome.
I think that'd be a little easier to do than trying to do just the mask.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Might be a little stretch.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is, again, as a kid, I would have never thought I would ever get to meet anyone, and here I am sitting across from you, being able to speak to you.
Me.
Yes.
And thank you guys for being the fans, keeping this strong and alive 30 years plus.
Yes, thank you guys. This has been the RSP Lounge here. Day 2 is coming to an end. Day 3 tomorrow here at RangerStop Pop in Atlanta, 2025 edition. I hope that if you guys did come to the con, you had a great time. You met Steve, you hung out. If you didn't, well, you get to meet Steve and get to know more about him. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share this with every Power Ranger fan you know. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.